Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett, and sometimes you just have a smaller space, okay? I'm not out of touch with reality. I know how normal people live, and let's have a conversation about how to make those smaller spaces look bigger. So, grab a coffee, grab a tea, and let's get into it. As you all know, one of the first reasons a small space will look small is because it's small. It is small, but it's gonna look even smaller if you have a lot of big, oversized, or bulky furniture in it. And there's like a fine line as to what that means, because you can have a bigger piece of furniture. Like I always say that, a small space, you can go bigger on the furniture, you just have to have less of it. But there's a difference between big furniture and bulky furniture. Bulky furniture to me means that it doesn't have clean lines, it doesn't have those sleek and simple shapes to it. It has, curves and details. Like in a living room, for example, you might have like big, heavy arms on a sofa. That's bulky. Or in a bedroom, you might have like a sleigh style bed. It's got these curves and all of this. It takes up a lot of extra space that it's not necessary for it to take up. And then it makes everything look even smaller than it already is. So when I'm working on a smaller space, I'm looking for furniture that, yes, is a little more, maybe it's oversized, but it doesn't have all of the unnecessary bulk that a lot of pieces do. My living room, for example, I wouldn't say is the smallest, but hey, listen, I don't live in a palace. So when I selected a sofa, I went for something that's a little bit lower slung. It's actually extra deep, but it doesn't have any arms on it. So it looks really open and spacious. It kind of reduces the bulkiness of that and makes it look bigger. That's a great trick for anybody, but you can do this for every aspect in your home. If you have a dining room, look for chairs that are a little more streamlined in the upholstery of them. Look for a table that doesn't have a lot of like extra lips or details or, big oversized legs on it. You want something that's a little bit more streamlined. In a bedroom, like I said, get a headboard or a bed that maybe doesn't have a footboard that is a little bit more compact in terms of the detail on it. You don't want to have a lot of bulk on the depth or the width where it's not necessary, because all of that makes a small space look even smaller. When you're selecting pieces or furniture, you're looking around your space that maybe looks a little smaller, say to yourself, okay, what about this is bulky and how can we reduce it? What is it that we can pull back on a little bit that will save us some extra space? Even just a little bit goes a long way in a smaller home. Speaking of getting a little bit of something, a little bit of design advice is great. Some extra tips if you are working on a smaller space, because also smaller spaces get associated with more affordable, and that's not necessarily true. Like, look at a big city, an apartment in a big city. A small apartment can be more than a large home in some places. So don't sit there and think to yourself like, oh, it's a small space, it's not worth putting the effort into. It absolutely is. Sometimes you need some creative solutions or an outside opinion. I would recommend working with a designer on a consultation basis like me. You could always book a one-on-one interior design consultation with me using the link in the description box down below or going to intro.co/GarrettLeChic. Now, one of the creative solutions I often recommend to my clients that have smaller homes that it always is something that it seems unapproachable until you actually talk to somebody about it are built-in elements. And built-ins can come in so many different shapes and forms and sizes and all of the things that it really takes getting creative with it. And one of the reasons I really like built-ins is because it reduces that space just a little bit more. Sometimes we can off-center something and then gain some actual floor space or like a walkway, a pathway that you could then use. An example is a banquette. So if you have a dining table with chairs, like let's say a round dining table with 4 chairs, that's what fits best in a smaller space. Instead of doing that, adding a banquette or a built-in bench into a corner now means that everything is off-centered. We only have to have 2 chairs because we have a banquette in that corner. So you're still getting the same amount of seating. Actually, you're getting more seating at that table, but it's off-centered in the room in a way that feels more natural, and that gets us more floor space if you needed it. And that's just one example of something I've recommended for clients. Another is when I have a client who has a smaller apartment or, a space where we might have a doorway on the opposite side, like an apartment that has a balcony, has a door to the balcony, usually where the windows are and the view is and everything. I will often say let's build in a TV, go oversized on a TV. I don't care if the space is smaller. I like a big TV if I'm gonna be entertained. I need to be able to see the entertainment, so bigger is better in that regard. But I like a built-in TV or media unit. We can do something floating that's really great. When you don't have anything on the floor, you see more of it. It feels bigger, but that built-in element, a lot of times they're more shallow than you would find on a traditional piece of furniture, but it's also getting something up off of the floor, it's built in, and we can take full advantage. If we go like edge to edge on a wall, we get a lot more storage space for the same amount of space we could get something else in otherwise. Plus we can hang it a little bit lower, so it's perfect for viewing a TV, and you can add some luxury features like lighting underneath it. All of that's fun. Built-in elements are so great. Sometimes it's just about adding cabinetry to a kitchen for more pantry space. Sometimes it's about, you know, a banquette seating, or how can we do this? Can we add shelves? Can we get some additional storage space in here? What are those solutions? Because a big part of making your space look bigger is decluttering. And you know, you need storage space if you're going to declutter all of the visual, everything and the mess of it. You want to reduce that busyness, so sometimes a built-in element is perfect for that. Now, when we talk about built-in elements, we also have to address symmetry, because symmetry is something we naturally gravitate towards as people, as humans, as beings, but it can actually be a downside when you have a smaller space. And what I mean by that is you don't always have the space for perfect symmetry. And that's okay, but how do we overcome that? We do that with balance. And how does that relate to a built-in? Well, here's an example. If you have a fireplace, let's say, maybe in a smaller space, you don't have that. I know, but let's just use it as an example. And you have room for a bookcase on one side of it. You might not have room for a bookcase on the other side of it. So then a lot of people will get stuck in their head and be like, okay, well, I can't put a bookcase there because I can't put one on the other side. So what do? I'm just gonna leave everything in a pile on the floor. No, what we can do is put a bookcase on one side, and then maybe we flank that with a larger piece of art or a mirror, or we could even do, you know, a chair with a cantilevered floor lamp that fills in that space a little bit. A potted plant's great for adding balance as well. Balance is more important, in my opinion, than perfect symmetry is. And that's totally okay. And I do that in my house all of the time. Actually, right behind me, I have a piano, I have a large piece of artwork, because on the other side of the room, I have a credenza with a piece of art above it, that they both have kind of the same visual scale, but one is definitely bigger and heavier than the other is. I can't add the piano on the other side because there's a window right there, but I can have it here because I'm only blocking off a part of the access of this giant doorway that's next to it into my dining room. So you can play around with balance where you can't necessarily do that with symmetry. Don't be scared to use balance over symmetry. Symmetry is this thing that if you can't achieve it, sometimes it feels overwhelming, and using perfect symmetry in a space often makes it feel smaller than it actually is, and it doesn't lend itself to everything. Even a normal house, I love my home. It's beautiful, it's great, I'm so proud of it. It's not perfect, okay? It's not perfectly symmetrical. For my fireplace, I think it's like 4 inches off center, and then the mantle is 2 inches off center on the fireplace. Like, it's a whole thing. You can contend with absolutely any of that by using balance in place of perfect symmetry, because not everywhere has it, and that's okay. Something else that's okay for you to do, and I would highly recommend you take advantage of, is joining us, becoming a part of our LeChic family by hitting the subscribe button. We are a community of interior design lovers, and we post at least 2 videos every week. So we'd greatly appreciate if you took a moment and hit that subscribe button and became a part of our LeChic family. I also would greatly appreciate if you shared this video with a friend who maybe is trying to decorate a smaller space in their home but is struggling with it. Also, I'm just gonna let you know that 1 like equals 1 kiss for a cavalier. This is Arden, our channel mascot at this point, so be sure you give this video a like so that we can give him a million little kisses. Can't we? Oh God, he looks terrified of that. Oh, so cute. Our English Bulldog Cornelius is also a mascot, but at this point, he does what he wants to do. He's 9, quite frankly, he's lounging in bed right now. He doesn't care to be like chilling and hanging out down here with us. He wants to be in the bedroom where the AC is on and it's cold, because it's currently the summer in Las Vegas, and I know everybody's gonna be like, but Garrett, you're in a sweater. I'm also in shorts, and I'm gonna take this off as soon as we're done filming, and yes, I am having a hot coffee, but sometimes you have to pick a struggle, and sacrificing my coffee is not it for me. Now, another reason a home could feel small And even if it's not necessarily a small house, okay, your house could feel smaller if you're not taking advantage of an open floor plan or layout, I should say, because floor plans, you can't necessarily change. That's like the architecture of your house. That's where doors are and all of that. You might be able to change it, but sometimes you're fighting your house on it and it's not always necessary. So furniture plans, however, if you're using an open furniture plan, we see more of your floor. We see more of your floor and the house feels bigger and more open. Sometimes it's about the pieces of furniture you're using, but a lot of times it's also just about the positioning or angles things are at. I actually have a great video that is gonna be linked right up here and at the end, all about layouts for your home that are really good. But using an open furniture plan or layout in your space is going to make it look bigger. And there are some creative things you can do. And what do I even mean by that? I want to be invited into that space. So if it's a living room, I don't want to walk into a space to the back of a sofa. I want to walk into a space where I can clearly see my way into that seating arrangement to sit down. If it's in a bedroom, I don't want to walk in to the side of a bed. I want to walk in and see the foot of the bed. That feels more open. It feels more spacious because I can see the floor on either side of it, as where if I walk into the side of a bed, there's maybe like 3 feet there, just enough for the door to open. Maybe there's 6 feet and it's a big bedroom, but you know what I mean? We want to take advantage of that space feeling open. And there's also little tricks you can use. In my home, as an example, when you walk in my front door, I have a very large opening into my living room. And instead of having 2 sofas flanking each other, I have a sofa and 2 chairs because the 2 chairs are more streamlined and are slimmer than the sofa is, so you see in between them and you see more of the floor. You can actually see the floor from the front door all the way through into my dining room. It makes my house feel huge, even though it's not necessarily like that big of a house, okay? Like, I'll be honest with you, but that's fine. It looks a lot bigger than it is though. That's all about the furniture layout and plan. And also, you know, what's big to some people is small to others. So that's something to bear in mind also, that maybe your house is not actually as small as you think it is. Keep all of that in mind as you're decorating, but focus on those open floor plans and layouts. That way you really feel like you can see all of the space. One of the biggest problems people make in small spaces that they think is helping them but's really hurting them is that they think they need to match the scale of the room to everything they bring into it. And what I mean by that is they think, oh, I have a small room, I should get small furniture, I should get small accessories. No, actually, bigger is better in this instance. And I don't want to see a little room with a little piece of art because you probably have normal ceiling heights. The art is gonna look really small. It's gonna look teeny tiny and we don't wanna have that. So we wanna go a little oversized on certain things. And we can really dramatize a space by using bigger pieces. So a really large scale piece of art is going to pull focus, as where a really small piece of art isn't. We're gonna see a lot of wall. It's gonna feel like a little busy thing, like a little fly buzzing around, as where a large piece of art feels very intentional. Same thing goes for storage pieces. I love a big oversized storage piece in a small space. I want it to be the appropriate scale for the wall it's on, but don't think like, well, that piece is too big. I have to get a little thing here and a little thing there and a bookcase and this and a stool and, you know, a little basket. Just no. We can get one big storage piece to put all of those things into, and it's gonna make that room feel less cluttered, less busy, and actually, you're gonna see more of the floor, more of the space. It's gonna feel bigger, quite frankly, or easier to enjoy. And also, that's something we have to talk about too, because why does it have to feel bigger? Why does it have to be like a big, gargantuan, massive space? Sometimes it's like that Goldilocks effect. I just need the correct size space. It needs to feel right. It needs to look good and serve the needs it needs to serve. It doesn't have to always look like it's massively huge or big and empty or whatever. Sometimes it's just about that happy medium or finding the perfect thing for you. But also, we don't want that space to feel like it's cluttered or busy or messy. So not having a ton of little things all over the place is a good way to tone down the busyness that space could have. So getting a larger piece of furniture adds more storage. You know, I'm a collector of things. I love Jasperware and Wedgwood. As a matter of fact, I have one of my little dishes right here. This is the lid for it. I scatter it all over the place, but I will keep the larger pieces out where I can see them and then corral some of the smaller pieces into a storage-like piece of furniture behind glass so they don't feel as busy or all over the place as they could be, and that's okay, and that's a really good thing to do if you have a smaller space. So don't focus just on, oh, the room is small, I have to have small things. Not necessarily. You can have normal sized things in a smaller space, but we need to focus on it not feeling like it's just a ton of little stuff all over the place, because that's when a space becomes overwhelming. It's almost like visual static. Like, where am I looking because there's stuff everywhere? Tone it down a little bit, go a little bit oversized on things in a small room to tone down that busyness the space could potentially have if you use too many small things in a small space. And I always say this, focus on quality over quantity. I don't need to have a ton of little things just because, you know, they're more like a smaller thing is cheaper, right? So sometimes it's about not having a bunch of little things, saving up a little bit, and then splurging or treating yourself into something that's really good quality and a little bit bigger that will have a more meaningful impact. Something else a lot of people don't do in a small space, I don't think people do enough in a large space, but also a small space, is you gotta take it up. You gotta go up, 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 up. And what I mean by that is take it up. Put things that are taller into the space. The floor is busy, okay? That's where the sofa is, the dining table, the chairs are, the storage piece, there's a rug there, there's a coffee table, all of the things, okay, are on the floor in the middle of the room. Where there is nothing is the ceiling. There's nothing up there. This whole upper area, okay, is empty. There's nothing there. So take some things up there and make it make sense. Hang artwork a little bit higher, not necessarily higher, but go oversized with it so that it feels taller. That's a top tip. Hang your drapery higher so that our eye moves upwards. Get taller pieces of furniture. Those storage pieces, yeah, get tall ones, and that's okay. Get a bigger TV because it's gonna look bigger. It's gonna sit a little taller and higher. That's a great thing to do. Also, I love a frame TV, and you could put like an art light above it to increase that scale of it a little bit more actually. And that way it like kind of is giving the artwork fantasy. Not that a television will ever look like artwork, like let's just call it what it is, but like I said, the fantasy of that is kind of giving what needs to be given. Take things up and do a statement light fixture. Hang it a little bit higher to the ceiling so it doesn't feel like it's crowding or in the space, but an interesting fixture that's got some arms on it, that's giving some interesting light. All of that is really good, and you can do that in a small space to create some really, really interesting feelings, some vibes, a moment, and really decorate it, okay? Give me an accent ceiling. Give me something interesting, unique there. Get a ceiling medallion and paint that. That's a good way to bring an accent up to the ceiling, because we're like, oh, hi, there she is, great. Painted a coordinating color to something else in the space, okay? I love a black medallion on a ceiling. I think that's very chic, very interesting, like an all white ceiling with a black medallion. Oh, love the contrast. But it's gonna draw our attention to that thing and away from the space that feels a little bit crowded or a little bit busy. Well, there you have it, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I hope your coffee didn't go cold. Mine didn't, and I love that for me. Be sure you check out this video right here all about those great floor plans you could use in your home to really elevate the living room and make it look bigger than it currently is, or just get you a creative solution, and I'll see you over there. Oh, and by the way, thanks for watching.